On air, online, on demand. Watch AFR when you want, where you want with CN8, the Comcast network.
And hello, everyone. I'm Art Fennell. Thanks for joining me for the report. Let's talk about a health issue that's a very important one. It is a silent and deadly health issue, strokes. According to the National Stroke Association, it is the third leading cause of death in America and the #1 cause of adult disability. Even more telling is that 80% of strokes are preventable. But what do you do when you have a stroke and you don't even know it? According to a new study published in the recent edition of the health journal Stroke, 1 out of 10 people who are middle-aged suffered a stroke and they didn't even know it. We want to talk about that. Dr. Sudra Sajari is here now. She's an associate professor of neurology at Boston University School of Medicine. She's, along with her colleagues, conducted this research into the study, and she's here now to talk about it. Doctor, thank you very much for being a part of the program. You know, a lot of people may be asking, how in the world can you have a stroke and not even know it?
Right. So we did this study at the Framingham Heart Study, where a group of people have been coming in regularly to see us so that we can study them for all kinds of illnesses. We know that having a stroke and knowing it, what we call a clinical stroke, is to some extent the tip of the iceberg of all the damage you do to the brain when you have risk factors like high blood pressure, diabetes. So we did what are called MRI scans, which are very sensitive to picking up evidence of this damage. So on the MRI, we found that many people had what looked, for all intents and purposes, like an infarct, like a stroke, except that they had never had obvious clinical symptoms or signs of a stroke, either that they remembered or that we found on examination. So we call these.
And Doc, yeah? let me just interject here, because I think for a lot of our viewers, just if you go into the basics of a stroke, and a stroke is to the brain as a heart attack is to the body, and so in a lot of these cases they are debilitating. You know that that one side can be left with paralysis if it's a severe stroke. But in some of these strokes where people don't know it, obviously there are no lingering symptoms. Is that what we're hearing?
Well, you are exactly right that many of them are disabling, and I will not say that none of these people have any damage because of these silent strokes. They are not truly silent, they are subtle or covert rather than overt. There are not obvious signs like one leg or hand not working or difficulty speaking, but if you do careful testing, you find that there may be slight difficulties in how quickly these people can think, perhaps. They're also at a greater risk for developing a full-blown clinical stroke, as well as for getting dementia and cognitive problems as time goes on. So these are not entirely innocuous. They are not as disabling immediately as a clinical stroke.
And if a person doesn't know that they had a stroke, and even if they think that they're feeling a little bit lethargic, and as you say, perhaps having a little difficulty in thinking as they normally would, you recommend that they, even if they don't know, just go and get checked out anyway?
I would not recommend that they go and have MRIs, but what this emphasizes is that all of us need to be aware of our cardiovascular or stroke risk factors, which means we need to know what our blood pressure is, we need to know what our blood sugar is, we need to exercise and have the right diet, know what our cholesterol is. And this just emphasizes that even if you're just 60, you seem to be in excellent health, you could be doing damage to your brain in subtle ways. So it's important to stay in touch with your primary care doctor, have regular health checkups, and if you have any of these risk factors, act upon them to lower them, even if you don't have any symptoms.
Well, that is very, very good advice. And Doctor, thank you so much. 1 in 10 people having a stroke, not even knowing it. That is an alarming figure, and we thank you for putting us on alert so that we can all pay closer attention to our bodies. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay.